Welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Maya, and I'm going to be talking to you all about money. That didn't work. You need a gun.
I know. She says that there's a gun for
a
like money gun. She called it literally. I've never seen that, but no. Oh, we're gonna get one for real.
And then you load the fake money in and you shoot it, and it pops money out. So what we can do more money. How's that?
It's good. I like it.
We do money. We talk about money.
Yeah, let's keep this money all over the table. I think.
Is that just fun for
It's
pops?
just fun. Did you ever do that little exercise where you throw money?
No.
Like throw it away.
I should, because I would throw it and then I'd pick it all up and organize it, because literally I'm a bookkeeper and I would be like,
that's what you do.
That's what I did.
So does it stress you out to have the money like this?
I guess because I know it's not real money, it doesn't.
This isn't real money? You just gave away like the coolest thing about this.
Hold on, let me test it. It's real.
It's real, right?
Yeah.
No, you can get this on Amazon. They sell huge boxes of it.
Yeah.
It's really cheap too.
Yeah, it says this is not legal tender, and it's $100 for motion picture purposes.
Right.
So I think it would stress me out if it was real money, because literally bookkeeping is all about organizing money, and this is not organized money. Like, it's not that stacks of money stresses me out, but like, make them organized stacks. Like, give me a nice briefcase full of money, or stacks on the table, and like maybe even a money counter so I can just be like, whatever. But like, this is just messy. And this is like an analogy for like messy books.
So that's exactly what I was about to say. You took the words out of my mouth. This is pretty much what people's accounts look like, right? When you start with them.
I mean,
I'm just getting some behind the scenes footage of this.
Yeah, no, you should.
So we can use
spread
it in the podcast.
So, I mean, it depends, right? Because this is sort of like maybe like a microcosm of messy books, but at the same time, and this is something that I talk to business owners about all the time, because like your profit and loss statement will show your profit at the end, and I'll be like, okay, so like this is basically what you're paying taxes on is your profit. And they're like, what do you mean? I don't have that money. I spent it. So how can it be profit? I'm like, right. You spent it. It's not in your bank account, but you didn't spend it on things that were tax deductible. Therefore, it's profit. And they're like, but I spent it. Isn't profit what you have left? And it's like, yes. But so the thing is like, this represents all the money that was spent. Like, it doesn't exist anymore. They're like, I've got like, whatever. I mean, depending on the business. Literally, I had a company that was like, hey, can you transfer this $1 million from this bank account to this other bank account? And Amanda and I were like, that's the most amount of money we've ever transferred at one time. We were like, let's do this together. Like, make sure it's all safe and secure. We're like, click. But for him, $1 million wasn't a big deal, because he just wanted, his bookkeeper to move it for him. And for us, that's a lot of money. So, but the point is that for the most part, business owners don't generally have like a lot of money sitting in their bank account. They have a lot of money that went through their bank account. So bookkeeping is like recording historically what happened to the money. It's not there. So you could be like, yay, look at all this money. But like, this would be a representation of all the money they already spent.
Right.
So it's messy because of that, but the money's not there anymore. Usually.
And I think that comes from just people being so used to, being an employee.
Yeah.
They get a check and the taxes are deducted from before they get their paycheck.
Right.
So they're like, oh, this is my profit, right?
Yeah.
And when they're in business, it's completely different.
Totally different. Yeah. And oftentimes the taxes come out. I mean, you set up your quarterly tax payments, or you set up taxes to come out of your paycheck as a business owner. For me, what I did, my CPA recommended that I just put as an S Corp owner, you have to get a paycheck through payroll, W-2. But instead of me getting any of it to take home, it all goes to taxes, because that's me paying my like taxes for the year. So I just try to, for cash flow purposes, so I don't owe a bunch of money at the end of the year. Instead of doing quarterly taxes, we calculate it so it just comes out of my payroll. So I just get the distributions. But yeah, that is, employees are used to getting like the money after taxes, and business owners get the money before taxes and they have to figure it out afterwards. And it's not really complicated. I don't want to use that word, but it can be hard to confront and organize correctly because you want to balance out paying the least amount of money for taxes that you have to with staying very organized and still making money as a business owner. So
what's like one of the biggest misconceptions that you find people have in business when you're dealing with them as a bookkeeper?
oh my gosh, there's so many.
What's like one of the most common things you run into?
Okay. I mean, since we've been talking about payroll, the term payroll is a big misconception. People think that anytime they pay themselves money or they pay anybody money, that's payroll or that's salary or whatever. And it gets very confusing when we're talking to people because we ask them, okay, so do you have payroll set up? And they're like, yeah, I pay myself every week and I pay my my workers every week. And we're like, great. So can you send us the login to your payroll or your pay stubs or whatever? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you just said you have payroll. They're like, yeah, like I send them, I pay myself, $1,000 a week and I pay my guys $1,000 a week. And you're like, okay. So now I know this, right? That it's a confusing word for people. So I go, are you on W-2 payroll where the taxes get taken out for payroll taxes? Or are you just paying them an amount of money that would generally be considered like 1099 for a contractor or subcontractor or a distribution or shareholders, disbursement or whatever for yourself? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, I just do the money. I just move the money. Okay, so that is not payroll. And it's a really confusing term because, for instance, if you didn't understand that payroll meant on a W-2 with payroll taxes taken out, then when you heard the term or the rule that all business owners need to be all S Corp owners need to be on payroll, you might think that because you transfer yourself or because you write yourself a check for $1,000 every week or every month or whatever, that you're on payroll and you're fulfilling that obligation, but you are not. And you can get fucked over and, by the IRS at the end of the year. And also, if you're an S Corp owner and you don't have a W-2 payroll, you are much more likely to get audited. So if you're trying to avoid getting audited, as we all are, then that's one of the biggest red flags. And just because you misunderstood that word, payroll, you can royally screw up your your taxes, your bookkeeping, and become more likely to get an audit. But, we know that business owners don't understand that word and what that means. So when we talk to business owners, we really clarify. But this happens all the time. My bookkeepers will be like, yeah, he said he had payroll. And I'm like, but did you ask what he meant? Because you don't see any payroll on his books. And they're like, right. So then it's like, do you mean payroll, W-2 payroll with taxes taken out? Or do you mean you write them a check or transfer the money? Payroll does not equal money you paid someone.
Money out, right? Okay, so that's very interesting. I think a lot of people are glad to hear that and clear up that misconception.
Yeah.
So when you bring on new clients, what kind of onboarding or training do you provide them? Do you give them some kind of education? Maybe not training, but is there some kind of basic education that you provide?
Yeah, I mean, very basic, but I guess I was always taught that the most important thing to do, even on a sales call, is to solve problems for someone. Because if you can solve a problem for them in your initial call, then they trust you to be able to solve problems for them. Like, when you and I first talked, you solved a problem for me. When you start talking to me about marketing, I get overwhelmed and stressed out. Like, other people, when you talk to them about bookkeeping and taxes, they get overwhelmed and stressed out. When people start talking to me about marketing, I get overwhelmed and stressed out. Literally, I've had friends that are like, whoa. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I go, this person said this, and this person said this, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And I spent all this time and money. And like, literally, it's like, okay, Maya. So, but when you and I talked, you like made things very simple for me. You didn't get shocked when I had my freak out moment, and you solved the problem for me. And I was like, okay, I can trust this guy. He can help me. So that's how I feel about bookkeeping. My first thing that I do is I go, good, tell me about your business and what you're running into. I mean, they also fill out a questionnaire, or, most of the time I try to get them to fill it out so I kind of know what they're interested in about their company a little bit, So, but I still open my call with, great, tell me about your company and what you're running into. So they tell me all their problems. And some of those problems I can solve right there. They're like, I don't understand. I got this thing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just explain it to them. And they're like, oh, okay. They're like, I tried Googling it and I tried this and it didn't. And I go, okay, yeah. So what that actually means is X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh, thank you. Yeah, no problem. So it's not that I have like an educational class that I put them on or something, which is not a bad idea because educated business owners are, more successful business owners. Financial education is very important, but I educate them in that I find out what it is that they're stressed out about and I help them solve that. And sometimes it's not something I can solve on the call, but I can tell them, like, they're like, and then I'm supposed to do this, and I got this letter from the IRS, and my last bookkeeper, I haven't heard from her for 3 months, and I don't know, da, 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 da. And I just go, okay, we can help you with all that. Like, I got you. And they're like, oh. And I take notes. Like, I have my note keeper app, and I have my little digital notebook, because whenever I have regular notebooks, I can't freaking find my notes ever again. So I have my little digital notebook and I'm writing down what they say and I'm writing down the pertinent things. And then I kind of go, okay, good. So what you're telling me is that your company has 600,000 revenue. No one ever told you that you should be, elect to be taxed as an S Corp. You didn't know you were supposed to file 1099s. You don't have a payroll because you weren't elected to be taxed as an S Corp. You don't know how much money you're making because you haven't had any bookkeeping, and you don't know if you can afford to hire someone. Literally an actual example. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, we can help you. So I go, and I just write it down and I go, I'll send them an email with the steps. The first step we're going to do is we're going to make sure with your CPA that it's a good idea for you to do an S Corp election. I think it sounds like a good idea. Let's double check with your CPA to make sure. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set you up on payroll. Don't worry about it. We're going to do all the, the registrations. Let's say you have remote employees. We'll do all the registrations. We'll sort that all out for you. We'll handle this thing. You didn't file your payroll for last year, whatever, we'll do a payroll amendment. We'll sort that all out, we'll do all that. Then we're going to catch up your bookkeeping for those last 2 years so that you know exactly what it is so you can file your taxes. And then going forward, we're going to do your bookkeeping every week or every month, whatever it is, right? And then you're always going to know your numbers and you're going to be able to make correct decisions on your company, and you're going to know whether or not you can afford to hire the next person based on your P&L, and whether or not that would be a good investment in your company, because each thing you pay for in your company is an investment. I keep hitting this mic. And then we're going to file your 1099s for last year once we're done with your bookkeeping that you didn't know you needed to do. And we will file them automatically next year for you. We just need your help, collecting W-9s, whatever. And it'll all be handled and you don't have to worry about it. And we'll send all the information to your CPA. And you can see their faces because I'm doing Zoom calls. They're like, oh, thank you. Like, okay, great. And it's not just that I'm solving their problem. It's that I understand their problem and I know how. I know exactly how to solve it. It's not like I'm like, oh, yeah, let me figure that out. Some things I don't know. And I go, let's ask your CPA how to do that and we'll figure that out. But a majority of those problems, like, I've heard them hundreds of times. I already know exactly. And they're like, oh, you're going to see my books and you're going to think, oh my gosh, they're so terrible. And I'm going to be like, I'm sure I've seen worse. Don't even worry about it. Like, we're just going to sort it out. We don't care. We don't care what you spend your money on. Yeah, I've seen pretty much everything. Every once in a while I see something. I'm like, oh, that's new. Oh, let's figure out how to solve that. But so I guess I educate them as far as I tell them, I try to solve a problem for them. I'm not gatekeeping information. I don't always have time to, like, if let's say they're like, well, I want to learn how to use QuickBooks so I understand it. Even though I want you guys to do my bookkeeping or whatever, I want to learn QuickBooks. I want to understand it. I go, great. Sign up for a consultation. It's going to be a paid consultation. We're going to do, probably 2 hours, 1 hour now, where I'm going to show you your basic, I'm not teaching QuickBooks. I'm teaching how they need to use their QuickBooks for their company based on what they do. And then in a few months, once you have more transactions that you don't know what to do with, we'll do another hour consultation, but that's a paid consultation, right? But like, that's different than if in the call they're like, I've been trying to figure this out and I had this one transaction and I don't understand. I can go, okay, show me. And they do a screen share and I go, oh, the reason why that is because XYZ. And if you just click here, you'll solve it. I literally had a friend of mine recently, she's trying to do her taxes, because she's getting, or she's trying to finish her bookkeeping. She's trying to get a loan on a house or something. And she's like, I've been researching this for hours. I can't figure it out. I don't know why it doesn't make sense. And I said, okay, I have 5 minutes. Let's do a screen share. And she showed me her books. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I don't even remember what it is. But I was like, yeah. So you just click there, switch this thing to blah, and then apply it to blah. And she's like, oh my God, that solved it. And I'm like, yeah, because I need to see the screen share so I can like show you whatever. But I know QuickBooks Online practically with my eyes closed, and I've run into all the problems. I can personally, like, I'm not even doing a lot of bookkeeping myself anymore, but I can personally, because I've done bookkeeping for so many years, fix almost anything in QuickBooks Online in bookkeeping, right? So for things that literally she'd already been trying to figure it out for hours, I solved it in 5 minutes or less. So if I can do that and help someone solve something that's been so hard and frustrating for them, and then I can tell them exactly how we are going to solve all the other issues that they just told me.
That's very valuable.
Yeah. And I'm educating them to that degree that one, like, help is possible and that's not complicated. And I can do that. You're always going to want to look at your revenue, but also revenue can be considered a vanity number, right? So I think earlier I said glamour number, but vanity number. So you want to look at your revenue. You want to look at your cost of goods. So you're looking at your gross profit and your net profit, because the bottom line is the net profit. It's not just important to know your revenue, but you need to know that because you need to know where your money is coming and going, right? Also, as your company gets bigger or more complicated or has different revenue streams, you want to know your profit per revenue stream. So in order to do that, there's a way to do the bookkeeping where you...
So is that like types of services that you offer or the different products you're selling?
Yeah, it can be any way. Obviously there's different ways of doing things. But for instance, if you're a real estate investor, I have a bunch of clients that are real estate investors. They need to know their profit per property. They need to know their profit per LLC. Sometimes an LLC owns 3 properties, and in that LLC, they have 2 business partners. So they need to know not just by property, but also by LLC, what is the profit. So that would be like one, way to look at it, revenue stream. Let's say for me, I sell bookkeeping, right? But I'm selling flat rate bookkeeping. I'm selling payroll. I'm selling like financial planning, budgeting, bill pay. I'm trying to use simple terms for this, right? And I have each one of those things split out in my income so I can see which one makes me the most money and which one and how much they cost me based on to deliver those things. Because I'm also tracking the bookkeeper's payroll as cost of services, cost of goods. So I can run a P&L by basically lots of different ways to see what the profitability is of each one. If you're an Amazon, an e-commerce seller, right, and you're selling a bunch of different products, yeah, you want to know your profitability per product. That's harder to do in QuickBooks, but there are software that do that. Because if you want to see per product and you're selling 25 products, like you might want to use a different software for that. But you could use QuickBooks for it. I don't recommend it. It's not really set up for that type of thing. But you could see, for instance, let's say you're selling on 5 different platforms. You can see your profitability.
For that product across all the platforms or something.
Well, you could see your profitability for Amazon sales. You can see your profitability for, your website sales. Like if you look at each one of those as a revenue stream.
So more than anything, you're sort of just categorizing, you're tracking those things and putting it in order so that somebody else can analyze that data.
Yeah, exactly. And bookkeeping basically means recording transactions. In the subject of bookkeeping, you have a lot of other things. You've got payroll, sales tax, accounts receivable, which is, receiving money, accounts payable, which is paying bills, budgeting, 1099s, all these things are kind of accounting department / bookkeeping. But bookkeeping itself just means recording transactions so you can see where the money went. In order to do anything else, in order to do tax planning, in order to get an investor, in order to get a loan, in order to sell your business, in order to, buy a property, you have to have bookkeeping. All of those people are going to want to look at your bookkeeping. And if you don't have a good P&L and balance sheet, you won't be able to do any of those things.
So what's a good point you would say, in your opinion, that somebody should start hiring a bookkeeper?
So if you have a company that is 250,000 revenue or under, we're going to do basic bookkeeping. So that's just categorizing the transactions and reconciling and reports. So even if you just started your company and you have enough money for this $300 a month, then it's worth it for you. If you don't have $300 a month in your budget yet, then I will say, okay, buy a consultation. I'll teach you QuickBooks. And in a few months or a year, when you're ready, then you hire us. Because I always want it to be the greatest good, the best thing for the company. If they're like, I'm in debt, I can't pay my bills, blah, 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 I'm not going to be like, pay for bookkeeping. I'm going to be like, it might be in your best interest for me to teach it to you instead, so you can do it for now. As a business owner, your time is worth tens of thousands of dollars an hour in potential income of the things that you could be doing. And that's your biggest losses of income, is unearned income, because you didn't go out and do that thing that could make you more money, because instead you were sitting at home in a box of receipts trying to pull out your hair. Like, it's not a good use of your time. You always have to invest either time or money in your business. If somebody else can do your bookkeeping for you, and that's going to free up not even just your time, but your attention, it's going to handle your stress, so you can be in a really good mindset to do all the other things that you need to do, especially when you have a new company and you have to hustle to get more business and all this stuff, then it's a good investment.
So what do people say after they hire you? What do you hear?
They say I saved their life, usually, like their sanity.
You know what's crazy about that? I think those words are very powerful and mean a lot more than, like, you say them right now and it's just kind of like, okay, cool.
That's
right?
what they say. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you saved my life.
But when you think about that, people actually die from the stress
That's true.
of taxes, because I can totally see that.
Wow. I never really looked at it that way, but you're right. It is so stressful.
It really is.
Yeah. And that's why, like I said, the mission statement, like half of it is like, I want perfect and complete records, because I'm a business owner. I'm a bookkeeper. I want it to be tied up in a bow and perfect and clean. But the other half of it, and the even more important half, is for the business owner's peace of mind, so that they don't have to think about it, so they can go and do what they're trying to do. I guess it's, my dad told me that you wouldn't go, if you needed to get a tooth pulled because it was rotten, you wouldn't go and pull it out yourself. You'd go to the dentist. And similarly, if you didn't and you got a big enough tooth infection, you could die.
Right.
So, and I've used that example, and I never really thought about it to the, knee plus ultra of actual death. But like, yeah, if someone could die of actual stress, it's like, go to a professional.
Well, again, you find some wild things in those reports.
Yeah.
Like people stealing money, employees.
Yeah.
So wild stuff comes up.
Yeah. We've had people hire us because, and like, we go in and review the books because their last bookkeeper they found was stealing money. But that's scary to me too, because I'm hiring bookkeepers remotely. And so I have to have so many security policies and, password segregated, because we have access to people's bank accounts and stuff. So it's like, but we also have a really good review process and stuff. But here's the thing, like, we know how people act when they're being sneaky, right? So if you are, especially if you have an in-house bookkeeper and you're not getting timely reports, they're not in good communication with you, or they're just being weird in their communication, I would start looking at your books, start checking it out. Like, one of the most common things I've heard is the bookkeeper got a credit card in their name, or they took the company card and started buying personal shit on the company card. And I think that's never okay. Even if they're like, well, I paid it back, or like, I just need, no, it's not your money. It's the company's money. You do not spend, none of my bookkeepers are allowed to spend any money pay any bills, move any money, nothing unless we have it in writing from the client. And I need the backup documentation where the client approved it, like attached to the transaction. I don't want to see any of my bookkeepers moving money that wasn't approved. They don't. But it's like, can you imagine like you're a bookkeeper, you've been doing this one company's bookkeeping for 10 years. They never look at their reports. They trust you implicitly. You've committed a couple of little things. Nobody noticed. You filed things late. You didn't pay the fees yourself. Even though you were the one, whatever. Then you go, they're not going to notice if I take the company card. They're not going to notice. And it becomes your own wallet. Like, how fucked up is that? That is not your money. Even business owners shouldn't do that for their own company. They should just use their personal card, and if they need money personally, then they budget it for the company. They move the money from their business to their personal for many reasons, legal reasons, bookkeeping reasons, tax reasons, the whole corporate veil thing. You don't want to like mix business and personal, but that your bookkeeper doing that or your in-house accounting person, because they just know you don't look at their reports, like, it's fucked up. And it's hard to see, but if everything is reconciled, if you're looking at your P&L and everything makes sense and you're getting your reports on time, then it's a good chance everything is fine. But I've heard some stories, man, like, and there's so many ways to fraud people. Like, there's this, whole, I don't know, should I teach people how to fraud people? But like, you can, you can put yourself on the company card that they might not notice depending on how much money you spend. Eventually people get caught and they sometimes go to jail, but they might not get caught for a while. And it's hard to get your money back. You can make a ghost vendor that is a fake vendor and you're actually writing the checks to yourself. And in the books, it looks like it's like ABC vendor, stuff like that. And it's hard to see. And business owners don't spend enough time looking at their books. I personally, for my books, I look at every single transaction. I look at my bank account every day. I was doing the bookkeeping for my own company every day, but then I just like don't have time to do it. So now I have someone else doing it, which is a weird transition for me as a bookkeeper to have someone else doing my bookkeeping. But regardless, I review the books and I look at the bank account and I look at each transaction. If I don't know what it is, I find out. I'm like, what's that? Why is that? And I look at every few weeks, I look at all of my software subscriptions because I don't want to waste money. So it's like, hey, we fired that person. Why are we still paying for their user? Okay, we'll handle it.
There's a lot of waste in that department.
Yeah. But the thing is that you have to look at the reports. You have to, as a business owner, especially as your company gets bigger, you're not thinking about that stuff. So you either have to do it yourself or have your office manager, HR person, whatever, look at it. Because here's the thing, like you sign things up for subscriptions and you add users and whatever, your bookkeeper, even if you have a bookkeeper, in-house or outsourced, is not going to connect the fact that someone was fired to removing them from the subscription. So like, it's really good to have another set of eyes and stuff. I just want things to be right. I want to pay for the things I'm supposed to pay for. And I want to make sure that like if I owe someone money or if I said I was going to pay something, I pay it. If I tell one of my employees that they're going to get a bonus, they get the bonus. If I tell them that they're going to get a raise, we do annual raises, they get the raise. I keep my word. I mean, not always to myself, but to other people.
Of course.
I don't pay myself bonuses, because I'm just like, I try to make sure there's as much profit in my company as I can get. So then the profit is what I can use to reinvest in my company or take home.
Right.
So there's not like I get, when everybody else gets bonus games, I'm just like, let's make more profit. But the bonuses, even all that, like on another subject, that's an investment in your company. That's not a bill. Every single bill that you have in your company is an investment. You are an investor in your own company, and you have to look at what is the return on investment of every single thing that you pay. If I pay for this employee, what's my return on investment? And if I give them a raise, what's my return on investment? Okay, well, let's look at this. This person's going to be happy because you did what you said you were going to do. Maybe you gave them a raise slightly more than you said, or, something, and they're going to work harder because they feel appreciated. That is a huge return on investment for a few dollar an hour raise. But again, if you have an employee that is not performing and they're, making mistakes, causing problems, they have to spend tons of time to fix it, it may not be a good investment anymore. So I'm always, as a business owner, looking at that, even on things I spend for myself that even aren't tax deductible. Like, okay, I have to buy new clothes because I'm doing a podcast. Like, what's the return on investment on this $50 blazer, this $100 blazer? I'm going to be able to use this on all these podcasts, and I'm going to look professional, and I'm going to feel good, and it's a good investment. So nothing is ever just a bill. Everything is an investment that you are investing in your own company, and what is the return on that? And that's how you don't waste money. Back to what you were saying, right? Like, you have to, I can't really tell you what everybody wastes money on. Subscriptions is a really good one. But the main thing they waste money on is not looking. Look at your reports. Can you afford to invest in a new employee right now?
Maybe the biggest waste is attention.
Yes. When you're stressed out and so that's the biggest waste, because I know for me, like, marketing stresses me out. Also, let's say, like, on another subject, breakups or like upsets with guys, right? Then I sit on the couch and I'm like working, but I'm half-hearted and I'm all upset. And I'm like, I can't believe it. He said he was going to call me. And I don't get shit done. And then, then finally I'll be like, I'll eat a pint of ice cream or whatever. And then I'm like, all right, cool, I got this. I have so many things I'm supposed to be doing, and I have so many ideas. And I don't have time to sit around and be sad. Like, yes, have your emotions, honor your emotions. You're allowed to have emotions, right? But like, being stressed out, being sad, being angry, they all are not good investments of your time, because you waste time that you could be doing so many more things. So that's what I try to remember. But I do, not to say that I just like try to fake it, because I experience emotions, and I try to just move through it and get productive, or get productive and then move through it. It's getting productive gets you through it. But
well,
yeah,
I like your point of view, and to me, it's very insightful. There's a lot of people that just go through the motions, but they don't actually, like you say, they don't invest in the right things. They just kind of just move along. So
yeah.
I think those are very wise words.
Thank you. Yeah, I think going through the motions is better than not.
That's true.
Right? There's so many people who have analysis paralysis, and they're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm not doing anything. And I think getting started is better than not doing anything at all, and going through the motions is better than no motion. But being intentional about your motion and having goals and plans and, and learning from your mistakes, because you're not always going to have, not everything you do is going to be a huge success. And sometimes you think it's a good investment and it's not. I've done that many times. And as my company gets bigger, the things that I think are going to be a good investment cost more. And then I'm like, fuck, that was a terrible idea. And my business owner friends are like, oh yeah, it's $30,000, no big deal. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's huge. It's a huge problem. Why did I do that? But I did it because I thought it was a good idea at the time. It seemed like it would be a good investment, and then it wasn't. And you learn from that. And sometimes you learn from it financially. And then you take it as you don't take it as a huge loss. You take it as a learning experience, and you move on. And, the next time you learn that, it might be $100,000 lesson. But you know what? Every single entrepreneur has had those lessons and learned that they invested in the wrong thing, or they invested in the wrong person. Business partners, employees, clients, you have to be willing to have them be the wrong investment and cut it off before you waste more time and money.
Very true. I was going to ask you for that summary, that final message, but I think that was it.
Boom.
I love it. Well, I think that concludes this episode.
Like this video, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications because apparently that's important. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers soon. And then, in a few videos, I'm going to be like, I'm trying to hit 1 million subscribers. So right now, one time only, be one of my first 1,000 subscribers. Boom. You get a free gift of lots of love from me. Thank you for watching.